today I'm going to demonstrate one of the coolest features of the 3DS system, but also one of the biggest disappointments about the console itself. And that is these two guys here, the 3D camera. Now it has the option to take 3D photographs, but it was really hampered by its low resolution. The cameras are just 0.3 megapixels and the clarity really doesn't show up that well. So today I'm going to show you a solution. Now what I've done here, I'm in the wilderness of the conservatory in my house, and the reason why this makes a great 3D composition is because we've got some great close foreground subjects here, which are the plants. We've also got the frame of the conservatory windows behind, and then my backyard and the fence out through the window. Now getting into the tutorial, you're going to need one of these. It's a 3DS, and that is to view the 3D photos on. You will also need one of these. It's a regular camera, just to take some alternative pictures on, which has a higher resolution. My one has 8.2 megapixels, far more than enough to put the 3D photos onto 3DS. Now this is because the 3DS has a maximum file size limit. It will only display photos which are 1280 by 720 or less. The next bit of equipment you will need is a free piece of software, and I'll show you how to get it in just a second once we've done the tutorial bit here. So let's get stuck in. So as you can see here on the 3DS system, the two cameras are placed relatively closely together, and they really do not need to be any further apart, and that's something I'll show you later on. For now we're just going to take a test photo. Something to remember, you do not need the 3D switch all the way up to take a 3D photo. It will take it in 3D anyway. So let's just snap a picture. Great. Now we're going to move on to the next method, which is just a regular compact camera. You can use anything from a DSLR to just a phone. If it's bigger than 0.3 megapixels, you'll produce much clearer photos. Now something to remember, you are going to, if your camera has it, you will want a grid mode on your camera. This is so that you don't rotate the camera or shake it in any way. Now what you need here is now a reference point, and for this I'm going to use the house behind my backyard, and I'm going to line it up with the top line of the grid. Now using the rule of thirds, I'm going to get the plant in the foreground as my main subject. So I'm going to take one photo there, and then move the camera an inch to the right. Literally no more, no less, practically an inch. The reason why we move it just a small amount is because otherwise we'll create an effect which is far too blown out. It will not look good with the eyes. Remember, that's how far away the cameras are on the 3DS. That's about how far you're going to want to move the lens of your camera. Now when you move the lens of your camera, remember to shift it from the left to the right. Don't rotate it, because otherwise you will lose the effect. Another reason for the spacing is if again you think about the distance from the camera, it's also the same distance as about your eyes, so something to remember there. Right, looking back at the pictures, if you just take a look at them and you flick from left to right, you should see the 3D shift. Now what we're going to do is head to the computer and put these images together, which can be a readable 3D format for the 3DS.
So the first thing you're going to need to do is navigate to this address here, stereo.jpn.org/ing/stereophotomaker. The link will be in the description box below, and you're going to want to click on this link here to download the program. Now I've made a file folder to put it in. I'm just going to click download and show you that it's safe. Now I'm going to click on it here to open it directly again to show you that it's safe. Ignore that. It will be a zip folder, so you don't need WinRAR to use it. It's just I've got it, so it's going to be easy. So we'll just extract it to its position there, close that down, and then open up the folder where it is extracted to. And all I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly stick it in the folder. As you see, it is a standalone application, you don't need to install it, and it will make some amazing 3DS photos. Right, so the next thing we're going to do is double click to load it up. Now here we have the program. It's incredibly, well, at first looks it's a bit complicated, but it is very easy to use. Now, I'm just going to go to the folder which I have my... No, I spelled desktop wrong. The folder which I have my images in. Now, I took the left one first and then the right one, and that's the order you're going to need to click on them. Click on the left one first, hold down Control, and then click on the image for the right eye. Then drag them both into the Stereo Photo Maker and it will load them up. At first glance, you may think that they're not different at all, but I can assure you they are. Because if we go into some different viewing modes up here, if we use the interlaced mode, you can see that the images are different. Let's just switch back to side by side. Now we have 3 steps which we need to go through. First is auto color adjustment. This will just make sure that one image is the same shade as the other image. The next step we're going to need to do is auto alignment. This will just do the fine tweaking of rotation and moving to reposition the image so the 3D effect will work. Now this will take a little time to do, so while it's doing it I will tell you about the limitations of this method. First off, you cannot use this method if you're trying to take an action shot, say of a dog running around or your friend driving down the road. You know, it just won't work because you have to take one picture, stop, and then take another picture. However, this works incredibly well if you're, say, in a park and taking photos of lots of trees, or in the woods taking lots of trees, not stealing them like that just sounded. And also if you are, say, taking a picture of a house, that works well. So long as your subject is still and there is no movement, the 3D effect will look amazing on the 3DS screen. Okay, so once it's finished, it will give you this dialog box telling you how it's aligned each image to each other. So that's good. Now if you go back into interlaced mode, you can see that they are pretty much perfectly aligned. Now the way the 3D effect works on the 3DS is, instead of the foreground subjects popping out of the screen and sort of being in your face, they are lined up with the screen and the background sinks through the screen. So this shot worked pretty well. As you can see, this leaf is the foregroundmost subject, and if we zoom in on it, if I remember how, there we go. If you zoom in on it, you can see that it is pretty much solid, while if we go to, say, this leaf up here, you can see one to the left and then one to the right. And this change will give you the 3D effect. If the foreground subject, unlike my leaf here, is not solid, simply use your left and right arrow keys to realign the image. Now the final thing we need to do is crop the image. So what we want to do is go to free cropping options, make sure you check the box saying keep aspect ratio and set the aspect ratio to 16:9. Click OK, and then click on the free cropping box. So as we drag, as you can see, no matter how you drag your cursor, it will constrain the proportions to 16:9. You're going to want to drag out your box and then release your mouse button and then click the box to drag it where you want. Let's go for, let's get the flower pot in there as well. We really want to get a lot of foreground and a lot of background in there, that's why I'm missing out the sky. When you release, it will crop the image. Now the last thing you're going to want to do before you save the image is resize it. So we're going to resize it to 1280 by 720. So now we're going to go to File, Save as MPO file, which is the native file which the 3DS reads. Navigate to your computer and find your SD card for your 3DS. Go to your DCIM folder, which the 3DS system should automatically create if you have taken a photo before using the system. And we're going to pick a folder. Now as you can see, these files here are the ones which I have taken on a 3DS myself. You can see their names, specifically HNI_, and then 4 numbers. Now we have to stick to this format quite strictly. Basically, the 3DS will only display the images if you show 3 letters, so I'm using CST for custom, put an underscore, and then 4 numbers. However, the only exception to this is you cannot have 4 zeros. You must start at least 0001. So I'm going to go to custom 0005, and down here you should check for Nintendo 3DS, untick resize to 640 by 480. If you've resized it to 1280 by 720, it should be at the maximum resolution possible. You also have this option here to include the date the photo was taken. So say if you were on holiday and you took your 2 photos, which you then waited a week to get home to turn into a photo to put on a 3DS, the date will be out by a week, so you can change the date here. However, I'm not going to do that, there's no need. Click on save, and you should have an incredibly clear 3D photo to view on your 3DS. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully, due to this tutorial, you can produce some incredibly clear 3D photos to show off the system to your friends.